everybody coming down to talk about this really important and exciting opportunity the county has with regard to a sustainability department. So we'll get the meeting called to order. Madam Clerk?
Calling the roll, Ms. Simon.
Here.
Mr. Hairston. Mr. Hairston is absent at the moment. Mr. Germana. Here. Mr. Shrine. Mr. Shrine is absent at the moment. Ms. Connolly. Here. There is a quorum. Also like the record to reflect that council members Conwell, Miller, and Greenspan are in attendance.
And Councilman Hairston just entered. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment related to the agenda?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, and we have minutes from September 3rd. Can I have a motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes approved. Okay, so we have one item referred to committee today, and we'll have that read for the record.
Ordinance number 2014-0023, an ordinance amending Chapter 202 of the Cuyahoga County Code by adding Section 202.18 to establish a Department of Sustainability and to provide for the powers and duties of the Director of Sustainability.
Thank you, Madam.
Madam Chairman, would you please add my name as a sponsor?
Thank you. So what's contemplated for this department, as I see it, is that this is going to be an independent department that's under the executive branch rather than be in any particular discipline such as public works or the collaboration department or even economic development, because sustainability practices and principles and opportunity exist across boundaries. This is its own independent department because there's so much that it can do. It does impact all those things, but it's more than that. So this is what's envisioned, and I just want to say that clean energy and efficiency markets are growing nationally, and Cuyahoga County has an opportunity now to embrace and attract and direct the market here in Cuyahoga County to enable us to really be the leaders in what's coming in with regard to sustainable business practices and opportunity for jobs and growth, and overriding all this is really what residents are seeking is clean air, clean water, and a mitigation of what's happening with global climate change. And this is a place where we can do it, but it's going to be something much greater than all those things, I think. So with that being said, we have Councilman Schranz here as a committee member. Thank you. We have a list of speakers who are going to speak to different aspects of how such a department can impact our county. And with that, I want to start with, we have David Beach, the esteemed David Beach from Green City Blue Lake. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm David Beach. I direct the Green City Blue Lake Institute, which is at the Cleveland Museum of Natural History. And I'm just really happy to be here to speak in favor of forming this new department. I've been working on environmental and sustainability issues in the county for more than 25 years. And so I've got a lot of perspectives on what's been working, what hasn't been working, what can make our communities cleaner, greener, healthier, and more prosperous in the long run. I think one of the most important things I ever did was to write the grant proposal back in 2004 that led to the city of Cleveland hiring its first sustainability manager. The idea was that the city was missing opportunities because there was no one in City Hall responsible for thinking creatively with a sort of a triple bottom line sustainability approach, not connecting the dots, asking the right questions, making change, and then tracking progress in a strategic way. And the promise was that if there were such a person in place, he or she could quickly identify projects that would not only make the city a healthier place for all the residents, but save the city money. Enough money so that the savings could be plowed back into the program and create a sustaining program. And that's exactly what's happened at the city. The administration of then Mayor Jane Campbell hired Andrew Watterson as the city's first sustainability manager. And Andrew, who's now actually a key bank, showing how business is picking up on sustainability, quickly started working on things like energy efficiency in city buildings, the city's vehicle fleet, and found all kinds of quick payoffs that save the city money. The city now has a goal of saving about $12 million a year in energy savings by the year 2020. So these are some big numbers and benefits that the city is already realizing. He also started a number of high-profile public programs outside of the city operations, such as the Sustainable Cleveland 2019 program. Last week there was the major summit that the city has every year, and that's attracted all kinds of positive attention to the city And the city is being recognized nationally as a leader in doing these things and making Cleveland, as we say, a green city on a blue lake. Now the city has a whole office of sustainability with about a half a dozen staff people, many of which are funded by grant programs that are attracted to the city because of its growing reputation as a leader in this. And the mayor has recognized that the sustainability manager position is so vital for the city that he elevated it to the chief level within his cabinet, the highest level within his cabinet. And this recognizes, as Councilwoman Simon said, that sustainability is an interdisciplinary, cross-departmental kind of thing, so you need someone at a high position to bring all the departments together to work on this and think holistically about all the solutions that are available. So I believe that a similar process can work here for the county. Of course, county government is different from city government, has different functions. It covers many more communities, so it can have a regional focus, which might make a department here even more important than what the city is doing in some respects. So whatever the department here ends up doing will be different and take a different character than the city's Office of Sustainability. But I just think there are tremendous opportunities for savings, for helping residents, for making the county a more competitive place for business, and for improving health and the environment. So all you need is someone in place to connect all the dots. That's the critical thing. That's what they found at the city. So thanks again for the opportunity to speak, and I look forward to doing whatever we can to assist the county as it moves forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next speaker will be Mike Pipsney.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to offer testimony in support of a Department of Sustainability for Cuyahoga County. With over 15 years' experience working to address our region's aging housing stock, and as the current Executive Director of Environmental Health Watch, a nonprofit advocacy organization which works for healthy homes, communities, and climate, I'm honored to support this important initiative. Today, I will offer testimony supporting green investment in order to address our aging housing stock. Most of today's housing will still be lived in 50 years from now. 80% of the county's housing stock is at least 50 years old. Making existing housing healthy, green, and affordable addresses multiple problems, including substandard housing, neighborhood disinvestment, health disparities, housing affordability, unemployment, and global and local pollution. Substandard housing is a significant factor in health disparities due to lead poisoning, which results in long-term brain damage and behavioral problems, asthma exacerbation from triggers in the home, and chemical exposure. Currently, in Northeast Ohio, energy use in housing accounts for more than 20% of CO2 emissions. That's comparable to both transportation and industry. To meet federal CO2 targets for 2050, the carbon footprint of existing housing must be reduced by at least 50%. Residential electrical energy use also contributes to local air pollution from fossil fuel generating plants. Ozone and particulate pollution increases the disease burden of cities. High utility costs resulting from inefficient energy, water, and sewer use threaten housing affordability and contribute to our region's foreclosure and abandonment. So we can take advantage of a variety of opportunity points on the path to high-performance housing. 70 to 90% energy reduction, along with reduced housing-related health hazards, can be achieved for some housing right away through super insulation. Anytime a home has repairs, renovation, component replacement, weatherization, lead hazard control work, etc., there are options to leverage other dollars to improve building performance and to position the home for further improvement. For example, when a house is getting a new roof or siding, there's an opportunity for a major insulation upgrade. My nonprofit is currently running a 3-year HUD grant, $1 million HUD grant, to upgrade 200 homes by doing this. So you leverage different dollars. You use the energy efficiency dollars to leverage federal dollars to address lead hazards, other federal or state dollars to address asthma hazards. So by forming this type of sustainability office, it allows us to bring in other money to address our housing stock. Further, reusing an existing house is greener than building a new one. Improving existing transit-supported neighborhoods is greener than developing new green suburban or ex-urban development. Rehabilitating distressed housing helps stabilize imperiled neighborhoods. Nortec, a nonprofit technology-based economic development organization here in Northeast Ohio, recently developed a roadmap to identify high-growth sectors within the advanced energy economy in Northeast Ohio. And what they found is they predicted a market opportunity of more than $32 billion with direct impacts of more than 7,000 new jobs by the year 2020. So when brought to scale, making housing healthy, green, and affordable creates jobs in renovation, fabrication of components for retrofitting, and manufacture of insulation materials. Investing in clean energy and sustainability projects will result in addressing our aging housing stock, in the creation of new manufacturing jobs and economic growth, while increasing the number of lives saved through the reduction of dangerous air emissions. Additionally, we will begin to address the worst impacts of climate change. So I'd just like to conclude by encouraging you to support this important initiative and let Ohio and the nation know that Cuyahoga County is poised to take a lead toward a greener, cleaner, advanced economy, especially for our children and the most vulnerable. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next, I guess we'll reserve questions at the end unless somebody has something really on the tip of their tongue. If not, we're going to move to Sally Martin, who I'm pleased to have from South Euclid. She's the housing manager there and has a story to tell about opportunities with green housing and green neighborhood initiatives. Thanks, Sally.
Thank you. Thanks for having me today. You all have a packet in front of you that's going to detail an initiative we launched in 2009. We were able to obtain competitive grant funds through Cuyahoga County through HUD NSP funds. NSP 1 and NSP 3 we were able to obtain from the county. We launched the Green Neighborhoods Initiative. This was a public-private partnership to show the potential in inner-ring communities in reinventing our housing stock using green building techniques. What's really important about it is that we managed to take a fairly small amount of money and leverage it into $24 million of investment in our neighborhoods. I think it shows the potential of green, it shows the potential of sustainability, and I think there's a huge opportunity inherent in inner-ring communities, which make up 38% of our population in the county. By their nature, inner-ring communities are sustainable. They're walkable, they're affordable, they're transit-friendly. And I think given the foreclosure crisis, the $450 million of delinquent tax that we have uncollected in this county, we have to leverage and use this opportunity. And I think it's a brilliant idea to create a Department of Sustainability because we need somebody at the top who's going to be able to coordinate things at the federal, state level. Money that a city like mine and the small communities throughout the county can't do alone. So we need multimodal transportation. We need a complete streets approach. We created the initiative to try to drive demand back into our community after a devastating foreclosure crisis, and we were able to do that. For the first time, we've seen new infill construction. We're going to have the 10th new infill home built in our community by the end of this summer, and that was privately built based on the success of our Green Neighborhoods Initiative. Our 2 idea houses showed what was possible to be built on a small infill lot in an inner-ring community for $150,000 that could be built green. Sustainability is the key to keeping people in their homes over the long term. Obviously, if they can afford to heat and cool it, they're more likely to be able to stay in their homes. So we urge you to create this office and create this level of coordination that's going to help reinvent the 38% of this county that has been responsible for a lot of the out-migration, which is, you know from reading Tom Byer's article this past Sunday, is leaving the county altogether. So when someone moves out, they leave the county. We can't afford it. We have to stem the tide. And to do that, I think sustainability presents a huge opportunity for us. So thank you.
Thanks, Sally. Do you just want to give an idea of what the idea home is? How you?
Yes, I was given 2 minutes to talk, which is very
2 to
unusual
3.
for me.
2 to
I
3.
don't think that I've ever made that goal. So you have details in your packet on those homes. But essentially, I know anyone who knows me is laughing here. we took post-war bungalows, which are the ubiquitous housing stock in most entering communities, and we showed how they could be accommodated and rebuilt green for any life stage. So they all had first floor living accommodations. The first house we did was LEED Gold for homes. So we achieved a green rating on every single bungalow retrofit that we performed, and we did 5 of those, and we did 2 new constructions. So those homes were completely redone. Everything was gutted. We used sustainable stormwater management practices. They were beautiful, and it was in coordination with the Cleveland Institute of Arts. So we used design students from the art school to help reinvent these bungalows, which shows great potential in that housing stock, which many people had disregarded as obsolete. So all of them sold rather quickly. The 2 new idea houses that we built sold in the first week they were offered. So I think it showed a huge demand for those. People are still asking for them, and now we're trying to switch gears. We've started a community development corporation to try to keep that momentum going with the private sector footing the bill, and I think it's working. So it's a small example. It's highly replicable in other communities as well. And I think combined with an overall goal of retrofitting these inner-ring communities to make them more sustainable, multimodal modes of transportation, we really are going to have something here to keep people from leaving the county. Thank you.
Councilman Germano.
And I really would like to hear a little bit more about the 5 houses that you retrofitted and what the average cost of that is. You know, I have this theory about entering suburbs. I happen to be in the insurance industry, and I've been to many entering suburbs. You can't tell the difference between a bungalow in many of these entering suburbs, whether it be east side or west side. Pictures of houses in this brochure, you cannot tell if this is South Euclid, not Parma. So can you just give us more information about the 5 retrofits and about how much it costs and where the funds came from?
Yes, the funds came from HUD NSP, so Neighborhood Stabilization Program, which was the stimulus money that came out in 2009. We also had a small grant that was really provided by the county as well to the First Suburbs Consortium. We had $300,000 there. Of those, you know, each property, we had the lowest renovation costs, I think, in the entire NSP program throughout the county. We were very sensible in how we did the houses, but at the same time, you're looking at a premium of 30% over conventional construction to do green. So on average, we maybe had about 100, 110 in the houses, and of course, we couldn't sell them for more than we had in them. And most of them sold around that level, you know, 112, maybe up to 120, and then the new builds sold higher, 162. So I think it was an interesting experiment, and I think what the private sector does is they take those elements and they do some of them. They may not apply for a green standard, which we found to be somewhat arduous and added costs. So LEED standards add cost to a project because of the paperwork, because of the documentation that one must do. But we found, you know, we tried several different green standards to see if we could find a better cost mix. We used Enterprise Green. We used Energy Star as well. So we tried to see if there was a cost savings of doing one over the other, but we felt it was imperative that we use a green standard, even though most new construction now is of a green standard, even if it's not getting certified. The kind of windows that are sold now, the type of insulation that's put into new construction is by its nature green. But I would say what was really interesting about these homes is it just attracted so much attention to sustainability and to why, you know, we want to do this. You know, all of the houses have rain barrels. It opened up a dialogue with the public. It opened up a dialogue. We did win a Cranes Emerald Award for the project, which was the first city to ever do that, which shows its success for the triple bottom line, people, profits, and planet. So the books that I gave you, the information I gave you has a lot of details on the program, and I'd be happy to talk with you at any time about each individual property and, you know, what our findings were.
Thank you. Councilman, sure.
Did you want us to open?
Sure, if you want questions for Sally, sure.
Sure, as long as Sally's up there. Sally, sorry, you're right, your 2 minutes didn't work, so we'll just-
Never does for me.
we'll live with that.
Okay.
My colleague opened the door. Would it be fair to say that green, based on what you just described, would be, another definition would be efficient and effective?
Yes.
Okay, so we can replace the word green with efficient, effective, effective with efficient, with green, whichever.
Or
we
high
want.
performance. It's
Yeah.
a high performance
Yeah,
house,
okay.
right?
Those of us who've been doing this for 20 years in manufacturing understand that efficient, effective is what we've been doing for a long time.
Sure.
You said there was a 30% premium to do this?
On average, that's what we determined, that if we had just gone with standard construction process, it would have been less. But one of the reasons for that was the fact that we were adhering to a standard that required a lot of reporting, that required the hiring of green raters, that required, the proving out of the building being high performance. So we have to do blower door tests, we have to do a lot of extra things that a normal contractor would not.
Okay,
be forced to do.
taking the administrative cost out, what would have been the premium to
It's
do?
coming down, and I think Mike Pepsney would probably have a lot to say on this issue. I mean, I would say it depends. With new construction, it's almost negligible now.
yeah, but
Right.
we're not
but
talking new
With the
construction, yeah.
retrofit, which is a little more challenging, I would still say it's probably about a 20% premium. But of course, with the city's name on a project, we weren't going to do anything halfway. We wanted to adhere to the letter to these green standards. We wanted to make sure the house was as high performing as it possibly could be. So we did go the extra mile on the projects.
So if the selling price was somewhere in that $100,000 range, so.
A little above that.
Yeah, so I was just going to use an easy number because my math is not.
Sure.
So it's roughly $20,000 of cost. 'Cause you assume
Extra
co-
for the
yeah,
green.
Yeah, you assume cost is directly related to that. So the cost of that house would have been roughly 120, and you say it can't sell for more than market.
Right.
So-
Obviously, there was a subsidy in each of the houses, which was true of all NSP. But unlike other areas where the subsidy might have been $100,000 of public funds, we were looking at a lower subsidy. So, $20,000, $30,000 in our houses. So, and with new construction, we had very little subsidy. We were pretty much able to sell for basically what we had in it.
And what would have been the length of time for the payback for that $20,000 that went in there for the energy savings that was produced? How many years?
I don't
until-
know, to be totally honest. We have a relationship with some of the homeowners because this took place in 2009. The first house was sold in 2010. So we check back with them because we want to see what their savings are. So we are kind of monitoring that as best we're able to do. Between what the bills were, we were able to get a copy of what the energy bills were for the property prior to our retrofitting it, and we are in touch with a couple of the homeowners who have been cooperative about wanting to share that data with us. And I know Environmental Health Watch is trying to do the same, because it's very hard to quantify that or put a number on it.
I guess I'm having a hard time understanding. If the standards required you to do X of mechanical things, whatever it happened to be, what was the basis of the standards if it wasn't there a payback calculation on the front end to say what it's going to cost? Why did you stop at 20,000? Why didn't you go to 50? Or why didn't you go to 100? Or why did you go to 0?
Well, one of the reasons that we wanted this to be a rational model for the market. We knew it was public funds. We knew it was basically a demonstration project. But at the same time, and I think that is really where we were headed with the Idea House concept too, is we wanted to show the private sector this can work. And, we didn't want to overly subsidize it so that it looked irrational. So.
Well, but that's just the cost side. The private sector likes to see what was the payback side.
Well, I think the private sector let's say you're a rehabber or a developer. It's a trickier proposition because they are looking at their bottom line immediately. But what it is that after a while, the market drives that demand. So people came to us, do you have any more of the greenhouses? We really want to live in a greenhouse because we know it's healthier for us. We know we'll save money over time. So they start to make that request. Well, they start to prefer green, and so it drives the private market into working green because they see that there's a demand for it.
But what you just said is that they prefer green if somebody else pays for it.
I think the buyer will pay more for it, as evidenced by the fact that each of the green homes sold for more than double the average selling price on the street where they were located.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Thank you, Sally. Okay, next we have Representative Mike Foley.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Thanks for the opportunity for coming up and talking for a couple minutes. I'm Mike Foley, State Representative from the 14th House District. I've got Ward 16 and 17 in Cleveland. Brook Park, Parma Heights, Middleburg Heights, and Brooklyn are in my House District. 120,000 people on the west side, basically. I want to lend my support for the Sustainability Department. I've been a state representative now for 8 years. One of the proudest votes I ever took in my 8 years was when we established at the state level standards around energy efficiency standards and a renewable portfolio standard in Senate Bill 221 in 2007. One of the worst votes of my life was when we basically froze those standards this past summer in Senate Bill 310 and basically gutted our renewable portfolio standard and our energy efficiency standards. I think that what we just did was absolutely irrational in the face of what I believe at national and international level is just, a huge moral problem with the fact that we've got carbon emissions that are unsustainable in our atmosphere and greenhouse gas emissions that are unsustainable in our atmosphere. And we need to, as hard and as fast and as strong as possible, redact our emissions into the atmosphere and reduce our emissions into the atmosphere. I think what was, and I talked about this previously when I came and talked about this, was that the other irrational thing is that we are, we're going back on our standards at a time when the federal government is going to be forcing us to increase our standards. So the EPA has rules out now that are in the comment phase, but I'm pretty sure are going to be implemented that it's going to force states like Ohio to reduce our emissions from carbon sources 30% by the year 2030 from 2005 levels. That's going to force Ohio to go back and change our standards about where we get our electricity from. I think the great thing about this sustainability concept and department in Cuyahoga County is that it puts us ahead of the curve when Ohio goes back and has to recreate new rules. What I think it does is I think there's going to be, look, I think the dam is bursting on this kind of, on fossil fuels as being a source of energy in this world. I mean, if you read just over the last couple of days, Google just announced that they are pulling out of support for the American Legislative Exchange Council, ALEC, because they called ALEC basically a group that is lying to legislators around climate change and are funding denialists, climate change denialists. The Rockefeller Family Foundation, which made their money off of carbon fuel sources, it's this huge $80 billion fund. It just announced yesterday that they're going to divest any dollars that they have in terms of where they're putting resources. They are divesting out of fossil fuel sources and putting them into clean energy sources. I think that given both where I think the arc of change is happening in both in the world and what knowledge is around the problems we have with carbon pollution and greenhouse gas pollution in our world, and the recognition that we have to change where we're getting our electricity sources from, I think this puts Cuyahoga County in a really, and where Ohio is at right now by kind of going back on our standards, creating a Department of Sustainability puts Cuyahoga County in the state, at least, in an advantageous place for investment, for green, clean, new investment. And I think that's why this department is so prescient at this point and so timely, because I think that it helps us organize. Having a Department of Sustainability helps us organize the market, helps us organize suppliers, helps us organize investment. And I think that's really important in a time where we've got massive change in the energy markets, and what I think are going to be massive changes in the energy markets. So I think that the time is now. I think a Department of Sustainability can help us really ramp up support for clean and greener energy quickly. I think it can help ensure best practices and standards and kind of people who are doing this work. I think that it can be self-sustainable. As this investment comes in, I think that the department can help attach fees to new investments as they do work, and I think the department can be self-sustainable in moving forward. And I think that it can help aggregate private sector dollars and technology and finances to Cuyahoga County, which I think is really important right now. So I appreciate your time, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Councilman
Thanks.
Germana?
Madam Chair, do you mind if I ask a question? Thank you for your comments. Concerning Senate, is it Senate Bill 310?
310.
Yeah, and the 2007. Those regulations were aimed at the providers of electricity, right? Did they have anything to do, I mean, so that's the provider source. Did it have anything to do with standards as far as insulation, contractors, selling efficiency of refrigerators, stoves, anything like that?
Madam Chairwoman and Councilman Germana, not directly. So the direct rule said that by the year 2025, 25% of our electricity had to be created by alternative or renewable sources. And also, correspondingly, there had to be a 12.5% reduction in the amount of electricity generated. So it was an energy efficiency standard implicit in the rules. That implies, I guess, is that there's going to be more energy efficiency stuff out on the market because we had to reduce our amount of electricity overall in the state, electricity usage. So I think that this had to do with the supply part of how electricity was generated and where it came from. And by the way, there was also a corresponding portion of the law that said of the new renewable or alternative electricity generated in the state, half of that, so 12.5% of that percent had to be generated inside the state of Ohio. So it actually created a market in Ohio for renewables and alternative energy to be generated here. So that's one of the things that just, look, I've never fought as hard and lost a more bitter battle than Senate Bill 310. I just think it was irrational on our state's part. But I think that it hurt us in a whole bunch of ways economically, that we could have been on a ramp up to being in compliance in a much more easy, fast fashion for these new carbon rules that are going to come out. So I guess going back, specifically it didn't say that there had to be this, refrigerators had to be this efficient or X, Y, and Z things had to be this efficient. Implicitly it did. Implicitly it supported a market for that.
Thank you. Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks, Representative Foley. Okay, next we're going to have Pastor Phillips, please. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm sorry, I'm a preacher, so I'm used to you all saying good morning back to me, all right? Would you do that for me? Thank you. Appreciate that.
Amen.
My name is Pastor Aaron Phillips. I am pastor of Sure House Baptist Church. I also work with Common Good Ohio. I'm also Reverend Cabinet's main man, so if anybody knows that. But I want you all to know I just want to salute you all today for being a leader in not only in our county, but in our state and in our country today. It's a shame, Councilman Conley, cameras are always around when there's negative stuff. But you all are doing some positive things today, and I want to salute you for that. And I think that it is vital that the African-American community, and particularly the African-American faith-based community, is engaged in this conversation. And I really appreciate the reaching out of Mike Pepsney and Mike Foley and folks. And I heard the comments of David Beach, and I did not know, and maybe some part of my fault, but I did not know that the city of Cleveland had an office already like this. But that's something I think I should have known, Councilman Harrison, because we are engaged in the community in all other issues. So I'm just wondering, I want to make sure that this time when this office is created, that there is a factor where it's reaching out to the community at large and particularly the minority community, and particularly the African American community, because we are learning that it is incumbent upon our health safety to make sure that we are green in our community. It affects asthma, it affects lead poisoning, and the truth of the matter is most of our members live in this kind of low-income housing stock is made of older homes. So a lot of our constituency are in these homes, and we want to make sure that these homes are energy efficient, and that will go a long way, not only in the city of Cleveland, but all across the county, because most of the African American faith churches are in Cleveland, but most of our churches have a parking problem because our parishioners come from all across the county. So this is something that can be an example, and we talked to Nicole Sticka from COSI, in which I think they have a great idea that if the church community can be a leader in making our churches efficient, that will show our parishioners how important this is. And I took the first step, and we have a kind of a church right on Miles, 113, 18 miles. It's about the size of this room, and we rock in there every Sunday morning, by the way, 9 o'clock. And we had a fellow come over yesterday to do a energy audit and explain to us where we are actually losing money, and which is a huge impact for us in our churches, because that's an issue. So they're helping us to find ways to save money and that kind of thing. So we want to be engaged in this effort, and we are interested in, there's a program that will have solar panels on our churches that they will put on the churches for free, but we will buy our energy from them, and that will be a great time to say, you know, we're being a leader, being an example. It's one thing to talk about it, but it's another thing to be about it. And so we're actually being about that process, and I talked to one of our leading churches in our city, Greater Abyssinia. They're willing to do the same. So we want to take first steps to be an example of that, and I applaud this council for having a hearing to even discuss the fact that this is something that's very important, and I urge you that make sure that we do this, and we're doing it right, we're engaging all the right people, and I just want to applaud you, and we want to be here in support of that, and it's a shame Channel 19 is not here today when we're doing something very positive together. Thank you.
Question?
Yeah, you
I
said
wasn't prepared to take questions.
that's okay. On Sunday, don't you get any questions
I
from
don't
the
take
parishioners?
questions, no.
No.
Oh, no. That's Bible study.
No. In our church, they ask what hymn you want to sing today, and so we actually asked that question out there. So, your point was that you would take the solar panels if somebody put them on for free. Is that what? I mean, that's not a hard concept to understand why any of us would do that.
I don't understand your question.
You said you'd be interested in putting solar panels on the church.
Let me be clear, Mr. Schramm. If anybody's going to give me anything for free, I'm going to be interested.
Absolutely.
So it's not about the solar panel.
That's the American way. So yeah.
No, it's not the American. That just makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's corporate America makes that decision every day.
Absolutely.
I don't understand the nature of your question there.
Well, no. I just thought you said something about you want to make your building more efficient, which I agree, more effective. I agree.
Maybe let me go back so I'm really clear. There's a program that is wanting to make sure that our minority communities are people in the minority community are becoming green, efficient, and educated on that. So the company who want to do this want to provide some leadership and get into the minority community. So they took a maven, or the church, which in the African American community, it's a black church, to take some leadership in that role. And they said, well, listen, for you all taking leadership in this, because what we really want to do is make the entire community. So the church is going to be an example. So there's many reasons. It's not because it's free, but it's also because we want to be an example, a leader in why being green is important in the African American community. So that's a part of being a service as a church. We know we don't just sing hymns and preach sermons on Sunday. We also are engaged and involved in the community, and that's a leadership position. So, I mean, if you're asking that we're doing it before the money, no. And I hate that question, because every time we engage the African American community, there's always a question about the motive of it. The motive is because it's the right thing to do. And sometimes you do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, Mr. Schramm.
Okay. your desire to put the building and make it efficient, you'd close the door, you close the window to make it efficient, you put insulation in to make it efficient. I agree with 100% of that, and every house, every building should be doing things of that nature. I just wasn't sure, you mentioned something
Well, I
about.
hope you're clear now. I hope you're clear. I hope I made myself
Well,
very
you
clear.
were the one who mentioned something about solar panels, and I'm just trying to follow up what you were saying there, Pastor, about where the solar panels and how that fit into your long-range plan. I wasn't sure where it fit, and you mentioned about something, was somebody's gonna put some solar panels on your building, and so I wasn't sure where they were coming from, who was providing them, what was the technique, and
Well, that's why I said, are you clear now? Did I make myself perfectly clear?
who's providing them then?
I'm not sure the company, we're still in the beginning stages of that, but there's a company that wants to provide the solar panels. I think Ms. Sticker could probably speak more to that because he brought the program to me.
And
I
what do
don't
they
know who it is.
cost? What do the panels cost?
I have no idea.
And what is the value?
I don't
And what-
understand what
The value as far as the payback, as far as the benefit to your church, as far as reducing your heat, your light, your power, whatever you're gonna do.
The projections are that we'll be saving, after talking to the energy auditor, the projection will be saving about 40% of what we're paying right now.
Okay, and so it'll take, based on that, it'll probably take you 2.5 years to pay back?
I
Okay,
don't know.
That's fine, thank you.
It's the right thing to do.
It's the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Councilman Simon, and
Thank
thank you.
you.
Appreciate that, thank you.
All right. Okay, so next we will have, I guess, Tom, do you want to come on up from Playhouse Square Foundation?
Good morning. Thanks for the opportunity to come and speak. It sounds like a terrific program that's being proposed. I have with me James Wilbanks from the Brewer Garrett Company, and I want to talk a little bit, I've been asked to talk about the Energy Loan Fund from the state of Ohio and how we're using that at Playhouse Square.
Can you just identify yourself for the record? I know I did, but can you?
Yeah, my name is
Thanks.
Tom Einhaus, and I'm with Playhouse Square. Good? Okay. We have been considering a conversion to boilers from district steam for a number of years. But there's always been first cost capital considerations, et cetera. About a year ago, a little over a year ago, James and his colleagues brought to us the idea of using the Energy Loan Fund from the state of Ohio and a proposal to convert to boilers. And we looked very carefully at that proposal and probably spent about 6 months vetting it. Ultimately, what we're doing is not only boilers, but high efficiency air conditioning equipment, energy controls, and the boilers. So we're impacting the real estate portfolio and the theaters. All in all, it's about a $5.5 million investment. We're 20% invested in that. The rest of it comes from the Energy Loan Fund with a 15-year payback term. And ultimately, initially, we're going to be realizing about a 23% net savings from these energy efficiency pieces that we're putting into place. After the 15-year term, it goes way up. And of course, it's based on what the market is for gas in 15 years, but the projections for gas look very good. So that's kind of the basics of what we're doing with the program. And James knows the program intimately. I don't know if you want to
Sure.
add anything to that.
You know, the DSA put this program together in an effort to promote sustainable measures throughout the state. And understanding that, to your point, those measures typically aren't free. Is there a funding mechanism available using state and federal dollars that could provide low-interest loans? They are not grants. This is a loan at very low interest rates in order to promote sustainability and energy conservation in a fiscally viable way. And that's really the mission behind that. The Department of Service Agency, ODSA?
It's a state agency
Yeah.
where the original grant came through.
Yes, ma'am.
They had an original grant coming through the state.
Yeah, sure. And the program has been used over the past 2.5 years pretty effectively. There's been about $20 to $25 million in low interest monies that were provided for this funding mechanism. Once again, in the form of loans, low interest, and for at least the programs that I'm familiar with, the interest rates, the APRs have been less than 3%, some as low as 1%, with 0% during the construction period. So the client is able to begin to accrue energy savings prior to making payments on this loan. So it's turned out to be a very financially viable way to implement measures that result in true sustainability measures. The only qualifications for the program, there are different levels for both private and public entities, but there has to be a net 15% reduction in energy consumption. And in order to make sure that these funds are being used for financially viable projects, there has to be a payback term of less than 15 years. And the rationale behind that is most of the equipment that is being provided during these projects has a life expectancy of greater than 15 years. They want to make sure that the payback is at least less than the life of the equipment.
Thank you. Councilman Schron and then Germano.
And I congratulate you on running some numbers and calculation and a payback and a justification analysis. I think that's what people like to see.
Yes.
And I also congratulate you on doing the boilers at the direct source of where the utilization of the product is going to be used. There were a number of us up here who did not want to go forward with a unified single force of steam going through the county. We believe that directly applying that source directly where you're going to use it was the most efficient and effective. Unfortunately, we chose not to do that with most of our building utilization, and we just entered into a long-term contract, unfortunately, not to use your exact technique, because I really believe that consumption, utilization at the source was the better technique. And unfortunately, for a lot of people, they don't realize that we're piping steam throughout the city underground to all the buildings, and we just entered into long-term contracts to continue that process. So my congratulations for you to have that vision. And by the way, I think you indicated we're going to be using natural gas for a long time to produce the energy to produce that savings. Thank you.
Councilman Germano.
Well, just for the record, since you brought it up, I was one of those votes with you on that.
I know, and I appreciate you because that was a good vote.
Beauregard, of course, is a very reputable company in Middleburg Heights, which I represent.
Thank you, sir.
But the real question I have is the source of the DSA funds. What's the source of that DSA funds?
My understanding is, and I certainly am not an expert on the specific source of the funds, I know it is operated by the state agency, but I do believe there is a component of a federal subsidy that is involved in that. My understanding is it's a combination of federal and state funds that are both specifically allocated for energy conservation and sustainability, but those exact source funds, I'm not sure of.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Playhouse. Okay, we have Nicole from COSI. Morning, thanks for being here.
Good morning. Good morning, Councilwoman Simon and members of the committee. I'm pleased to join you this morning and to share with you some of the successes and the impacts that the COSI Energy Services Program has had with specifically small businesses over the last 15 years. So just a little bit of background. For more than 40 years, COSI has been the voice for small businesses and providing resources for peer-based knowledge and education and networking and connecting businesses to opportunities and more resources. And over the last 15 years specifically, we have been a provider of electricity and natural gas savings to help our small businesses reduce their energy costs. And we've continued to evolve our work through a number of market support generation and retail choice programs. And over time, we've grown our program in the electric and natural gas space to serve over 12,000 customers between our gas and electric programs and have provided some significant savings, millions of dollars in just the supply side. And our work in this area does go beyond helping small businesses save money on energy rates. In 2009, we were designated as an administrator to First Energy's Collaborative, which is a collection of organizations representing customers from the residential class and small commercial to mercantile, which are large energy users, among others. And as an administrator, we've been in a unique position to assist small businesses in the development and implementation of a variety of FirstEnergy's energy efficiency programs and demand-side management initiatives to improve the way that small businesses operate going forward. And our role in that collaborative is translated to our extensive experience in small business energy efficiency programs, including energy audits for customers of all sizes and a host of other energy savings initiatives for specifically our COSI members. And in addition to the work in FirstEnergy's collaborative, we were also designated a year and a half ago for Dominion East Ohio's non-residential energy assessment program to assist 1,500 Dominion customers with energy audits to provide them the education and what I call a blueprint for understanding their long-term energy management and how to reduce their energy costs long-term. And on average, energy auditors have identified about a 28% gas savings that can be realized from doing the improvements that we find through the energy audit reports, as well as a 22% CO2 reduction from an average annual savings of about $3,500 for these small businesses. And to give you a sense of the size of businesses that this is focused on, it's working with any non-residential customer, which includes a nonprofit and churches, up to 25,000 square feet. Our dedicated energy team does have a wide array of experience in developing and managing these types of programs and delivering corresponding education for the benefit of reducing energy costs for Ohio small businesses. And in the last several years, our efforts have increased to help our small business owners understand even more about the opportunities and how to implement energy efficiency measures. Our role is to shift their mindset to becoming less reactive to being more proactive in the space of energy. And our experience affirms that energy efficiency is important to small businesses because it does help them save on costs and allows them to focus their time and their resources on elements that drove them to actually start a business. It wasn't necessarily to manage their energy bills. They typically don't have somebody on staff that's dedicated to understanding their utility bills or their energy costs. And that's COSI's role, is to be their virtual energy manager. And energy costs are one of those things that come along with owning a business, as you know. And COSI believes it's important to ensure that we, along with elected officials, the utilities, and other groups, are working hard to develop and execute programs that make it easier for small businesses to understand the importance of energy efficiency. And in 2011, or since 2011 rather, we have helped hundreds of small businesses benefit from the utilities prescriptive rebate programs and other incentive programs for a collective energy savings of over 100 million kilowatt hours. That's a very large number. COSI's assisted hundreds of these small companies realize more than $12 million in avoided annual energy costs, meaning that the rider that would have been on their bill is not there. And nearly $60 million in total energy projects have been completed over these last several years. And of those projects, more than $6 million were captured back and put into the pockets of our small businesses. So with this heightened awareness, while it's very positive, more work can definitely be done to help advance small businesses understand the biggest challenges that are facing them in the energy efficiency space. And according to our National Small Business Association affiliate, 52% of small business owners see cash flow as the primary barrier to investing in energy efficiency. And without access to capital, small business owners are often unable to move forward with energy projects, and that would save them dollars in the long run. And given the opportunities and challenges small businesses face with respect to the ability to invest in energy efficiency programs, we believe that more can be done to broaden the scope of programs and provide them that pathway to access to capital. And just an example of a retailer that we had worked with that had probably not moved forward with doing energy efficiency projects, but because rebate programs were available to him and the education and an energy audit, he did a lighting retrofit for a total project cost of $22,000. And he was able to immediately see a projected annual utility cost savings of about $15,000, which was quite significant. And the rebate value that came back to this customer was about $4,500 back in his pocket, real cash, that he was able to take those dollars and reinvest them into other areas of his business that, again, he may not otherwise have been able to do. So the rebates are a benefit and an incentive to businesses with strong credit and positive cash flow, but that's not always the case for all of our small businesses. And so energy efficiency measures tend to sink to the bottom of the priority list if they don't have that strong cash flow or credit to actually move forward and achieve credit through the bank and so forth. And so COSI has developed a loan program, and we are working on the development of other financing mechanisms to accelerate the adoption of energy efficiency projects for businesses that may not have superior credit. And we want to help more small businesses advance this effort. And so COSI would welcome the opportunity to work collaboratively with the county to increase the pool of dollars available to small businesses, whether that's through a loan guarantee fund or other sources. So finally, we believe that it's important to ensure that there's an adequate attention always paid to the distribution of resources to educate small businesses and to provide them resources related to energy efficiency. Like I said earlier, they wear many hats, and they don't have the time to seek out energy efficiency on a regular basis. So if we can continue to empower them, give them the education and resources, we'll be better off. So in closing, while COSI members have not necessarily taken a formal position on this initiative for the establishment of this department, we do look forward to learning more about it and serving as a resource to you and the committee as you move forward with this plan. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nicole. So, Councilwoman Conwell.
Yes, Nicole, through the chair to Nicole, how do the small businesses become aware of your initiatives? So we have a lot of mom and pop stores. We know that they would benefit from, being green and long initiatives. How does one find out about this? Is it online? What kind of outreach do you have toward the small businesses?
Great question. Thank you. Through a wide range of marketing channels, with small businesses, it does tend to be a higher touch point because they are limited with their time and resources. And so we have dedicated staff that work hand in hand with our small businesses to reach out to them in a targeted approach, neighborhood by neighborhood, leveraging the CDCs and other community organizations who those small businesses know and trust already. And so while we do the typical mass marketing, that's not necessarily the most effective approach. And we've developed some laser-targeted marketing to really address the specific needs of those businesses by industry and by even drilling down into the person that we're speaking with directly. So it's a multitude of outreach approaches that we take with small businesses.
So I just want to follow up. So sort of like this meeting is here today, bringing all the partners in together, talking about, would you find that useful or be available if I could collectively get some small businesses from a specific district and you could go over your loan program and your plan in order to let them know what you have to offer and how that would benefit them as well as the community moving forward.
Yes, absolutely.
If you could leave me your card.
I would be happy to. Thank you. If I can actually respond to that comment, though. As an administrator to the utilities, though, not always do you have to be a member of COSI.
Okay, Councilman Germana. Were you finished, Councilwoman? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My first question is similar to what I asked the last speaker, and that was, what is the source of COSI's funds for the loan program?
It's a great question. So there's several loan platforms that we have developed. One is the Loan Guarantee Fund for projects up to $35,000 in total project cost. We are leveraging our own assets for the benefit of COSI members to draw down on those dollars as needed. We are working in collaboration with KeyBank as our current partner, and for businesses that do need that loan guarantee. Secondly, we are developing what's called the Ohio Efficiency Resource Fund, utilizing a financing mechanism called an Efficiency Services Agreement, which is an off-balance sheet accounting tool that's used for financing projects, and it's for mid-market size projects between $100,000 and $1 million. We are currently in conversation with outside parties, public and private, that are interested in investing in this fund, which will essentially be a revolving loan fund long-term. So that is still in development, but otherwise our loan guarantee fund, to your first question, is leveraged through COSI's assets.
Okay, I'm going to go with Councilman Trahan and then Miller, okay?
Okay, can I just?
Oh, sure.
I just make some comments here because actually to what Yvonne's question was, COSI's source of becoming a large organization stemmed from the fact over the years, health insurance. If you joined COSI, you could get health insurance where you couldn't buy it if you're a small company. And they had this direct link with Medical Mutual. Used to be the old Blue Cross Blue Shield. And there was tremendous growth in COSI. It's one of the largest small business chambers of commerce in the country. And primarily, their strength was if you joined COSI, you could get a better deal on your health insurance. Many companies joined just for that reason. And what COSI has done since that time, because health insurance is a little bit more complicated, but getting away from the health insurance is many local chambers of commerce are partnering with COSI. So generally, if you're a member of a Chamber of Commerce, a small business is a member of a Chamber of Commerce. Many times now, you could have dual membership without having to pay double. You get a credit. So like in my particular case, I belong, and I've belonged to COSI for 25 years, maybe 30 years. I also belong to the Chamber of Commerce in Parma. Well, now, instead of paying two different dues, they blend them. So to answer your question, these small mom and pop places, you know, if they belong to the Chamber of Commerce, they could automatically upgrade to COSI, and there's a lot of programs that COSI provides beyond that. Thank you.
Thank you for that history. Mr. Schreier?
Yeah, it saved me a little bit of my comments, because we've been members of both GCP and before that COSI for well over 25 years, and that's the programs and the information comes as a result of a membership, just like you're members of multiple different things. So it is out there. I don't assume it's open to the general public, the loan fund. You have to be a GCP or COSI member, I would think.
Currently.
But they will try their best to sell you on memberships and the advantage, because as my colleague pointed out, healthcare, creation of new markets ideas, the new mid-market organization, workers' comp. These are all just they're programs, one of which is one to help you become more efficient and effective is really how you use your building. That's all, at least as I understand your program is no different than all the other ones to help you become more efficient, to move money to the bottom line so you can actually grow your business and move it on up. Is that a way to?
That's an accurate statement, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilman Miller.
Madam Chair, my question is as to whether the Greater Cleveland Partnership is running similar programs for larger businesses in Cuyahoga County.
Great question. So COSI's energy services programs do bridge the gap between working with just our small businesses to also working with our large corporations. Today, I primarily focused on our small business efforts, but we do work with many of GCP's investor level members, is what they're considered, and have assisted them on the aggregation side of procuring power and natural gas, as well as demand side management initiatives to help them take advantage of the utilities programs, but also other needs that they may have that are unique to their business.
Anybody
We
else?
are, I will say, if I can, we are probably the only chamber of commerce in the United States that is leading in the effort of energy efficiency. We were recognized as one of the top 10 chambers last year by Chambers for Innovation and Clean Energy as the leading chamber that is spearheading energy efficiency initiatives as an economic development tool on behalf of its members and businesses in the community. So we are definitely continuing to lead that effort and look forward to working with the county on this initiative.
Thank you. Any other questions of Nicole? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are almost done with our speakers, and last but not least, we have Chanel. Come on up from Emerald Cities, Chanel Smith. And can you identify yourself for the record, and then remind the council about the resolution we passed in 2012 that we passed, I think, unanimously to be a partner with Emerald Cities.
Yes. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for the invitation, Councilwoman Simon, and good to see you all, members of County Council. As mentioned, my name is Chanel Smith. I am the director of Emerald Cities Collaborative. Emerald Cities Cleveland and Emerald Cities Collaborative is in 10 cities working to create large-scale energy efficiency projects that creates jobs for those who have been disadvantaged in the construction trades careers. So as a reminder, the council in 2012 passed a unanimous resolution to partner with Emerald Cities to create a clean energy economy. And in my remarks today, I will get to that point about what we've done since 2012. But before then, I just want to say, in 2009, there was a Plain Dealer article mentioning that Cuyahoga County ranked 4th worst for greenhouse emissions after Harris County and Houston, Los Angeles County, and Cook County, where Chicago is. Cuyahoga's emissions are even worse if you consider its smaller size. But this unfortunate fact represents a significant opportunity for Cuyahoga County to become a leader in reducing our region's carbon footprint by actively promoting and coordinating clean energy infrastructure, low-emission buildings, and sustainable economic development. The energy efficiency and renewable power sectors are on the rise. A 2011 Brookings report entitled "Sizing the Clean Economy" tells the story. While the clean energy economy sector is still modest relative to the overall U.S. employment base, it is larger than both the fossil fuel and the bioscience sectors in terms of its employment base. This sector holds considerable promise for good job creation. The average wages in clean energy and efficiency are both national averages. Initial opportunities are in construction, which is building retrofits, new construction, and clean infrastructure development. Addressing decades of deferred facility maintenance and reducing inequities of high energy costs on low and moderate income residents. But that is just the beginning. The clean energy supply chain includes manufacturing, facilities management, design and engineering, renewable energy equipment, technology development, real estate, and financial services. Not only are clean energy sector wages higher than national averages, several studies show that for every $1 million invested in energy efficiency, 21 direct and indirect jobs are created. We actually saw this in the paper yesterday in Buffalo, New York, where Solar City, which is an entity that designs and finances solar panels, will be investing $5 billion over the next 10 years in Buffalo. Buffalo is a population of almost 260,000, and they will be creating 3,000 jobs at this new solar manufacturing facility. I don't see no reason why that couldn't happen in Cuyahoga County. Building retrofit jobs include electricians, heating and air conditioning installers, carpenters, and et cetera. These are jobs that pay family-sustaining wages, can't be outsourced, and offer career pathways. Much of the work on small and mid-sized projects will be performed by local businesses, and such local utilization can be required by public and private programs such as Renew Cuyahoga. And Renew Cuyahoga, which stands for Retrofits for Energy Efficiency Works, was actually the result of the resolution that this county council passed in 2012. And Renew facilitates financing and provides technical assistance to public building owners, mainly Cuyahoga County municipalities in the region. Renew's first project was with the city of Seven Hills. Seven Hills was facing aging infrastructure. They were dealing with roofing problems. There was health issues going on with the pool. But our team, working with public finance and energy advisors, with Emerald Cities, with Spectrum Energy Consultants, really sat down and worked with the city of Seven Hills to help them really look at an energy audit that was provided to them through the county and through stimulus dollars in 2009. Since 2009, our county's municipalities really haven't had any sort of technical assistance to help them move forward in energy efficiency. And I think that story is not only told through Renew, but some of the stories that you've heard here today. As you can hear, it's Cozy that's helping Pastor Aaron Phillips to really look to get an energy audit, to look at the energy audit and make the estimates and determination on what that church building can benefit from when it comes to energy efficiency. Most of the times, our building owners do not have that time or the capacity or the technical know-how to do that. And so what the sustainability department could do is really help us to organize supply and assist building owners with that upfront pre-development that does not occur on their own time. It's just something that they just not have the capacity to do. And I think we even learned that in the Playhouse Square conversation where Brewer Garrett really came in and provided that technical assistance to them. And so back to Seven Hills. Seven Hills is financing $1.9 million energy conservation measures for new boilers, heaters, condensing units, and LED lighting. They will also be receiving a white roof with PV solar panels, which is partially financed with tax credits purchased by the contractor. The city chose a lease purchase finance option subject to annual appropriation with a nominal purchase price at the end of the lease purchase term. The finance terms is for 15 years at an interest rate of 3.15%. The projected annual savings covering by financing costs is over 1.5 times of the cost. And also, Cozy is a partner in the Renew program where they will be assisting the city of Seven Hills to access the rebates and incentives that are currently available by some of our utilities, which will be expiring soon. So what better entity to coordinate and bring together private and public building owners than Cuyahoga County, and by creating the sustainability department. The other thing that this sustainability department is needed for is scale. Scale really matters when it comes to reducing our carbon emissions and creating jobs. If we're just focused on doing smaller projects throughout the county where we're doing some LED projects over here and some over here, we're not going to get to the number of job creation that we know that our county desperately needs, or the carbon emissions reduction that we need as well. So by starting, and the county can start with its own buildings and lead by example. And by doing that, you can help create large-scale clean energy industry that promotes local businesses and opportunities, empowers local workforce utilization, and significantly reduce the building operating costs of Cuyahoga County. Lessons learned from developing and launching Renew Cuyahoga County show that county government can play an instrumental role in organizing, advocating, and implementing successful clean energy investments. A dedicated sustainability-focused office on the mission of clean energy and sustainable economic development is a critical piece for the future success of this sector in Cuyahoga County and for job creation. Thank you.
Thank you, Chanel. Okay. Any particular specific questions for Chanel? Councilman Schron?
You indicated that our numbers were fourth highest in the country. How much is that attributed to our production of steel right here?
Well, I would probably say it's contributed to the manufacturing base here in general. But when you have a sustainability department that's helping coordinating efforts in uplifting programs like Cozy, you can help some of our manufacturers be more energy efficient and reduce their load.
Well, I understand that, but I just kind of assume our steel manufacturers are trying their best to make sure they're using their energy and they've got probably people doing that right this moment, so.
Yeah, ArcelorMittal makes the cleanest steel in the country.
I know that, yeah. And so that's why I wanted to at least get that on the record. But they're still going to generate emissions, are they not?
Yes, they are, but not every facility in our county is a ArcelorMittal or have that sort of technical assistance to do that.
Yeah, all I was just trying to get to is that a portion of the numbers that you talked about directly relate to the jobs that are produced at ArcelorMittal. No matter what we
The
do.
clean energy jobs?
No. The amount of emissions that you said to put us in fourth highest is partly because we are one of the largest, most efficient ArcelorMittal plants in the world, but they still are going to produce emissions. That's going to still be part of that fourth status. I don't know whether maybe.
Well, this report was done in 2008. I'm unsure if it calculated for
Actually, they've
what
got more.
ArcelorMittal is doing as of today.
Yeah, they've even got more efficient since that time, as I'm sure you're on top of that. So the Seven Hills project was a cost justification analysis that they ran the numbers. It paid for itself within that period of time.
Well, they didn't run the numbers. We ran the numbers for them, and that's
Okay.
a technical assistance that they did not have, and a lot of our municipalities do not have. And so, yes, I mean, it makes cost sense, but it's also better for their community. For example, the rec center, they're going to reduce chlorine in the pool by 99%. So that means when families come to the pool, they'll have less exposure to health risk that's related to chlorine in pools. And so it's not just about the dollars, it's about the health benefits as well for the community.
Okay, but somebody crunched the numbers, whether it was private sector or public sector.
Yes.
They did crunch the numbers, and they came up that the numbers paid for itself for them to borrow the money and to go through a regular commercial activity in regards to this.
Yes, and the savings, the energy savings is actually guaranteed through a insurance company, and so they're guaranteed to reach those savings.
Yeah, and we had this discussion a couple weeks ago in your office, I know.
Yes.
So we've been, I do pay attention to the concepts. How much do you think we have of these energy-related jobs going on right now already in Cuyahoga County?
Mike Pipstein actually mentioned a report by Nortec. I can tell you, I don't have those numbers right with me, but over in the state, before the RPS was frozen, Ohio was ranked 6th in clean energy jobs. I'm unsure what's going to happen now with the RPS being frozen, but I think that's another reason why Cuyahoga County can lead with the creation of this department, especially with our state taking a step backwards.
So would you put Lincoln Electric as a clean energy job?
Yes,
And Horsburgh and Scott?
I'm unfamiliar with
They
them.
make the gears for the wind turbines.
Yeah, I mean,
Cardinal
Cuyahoga
Fastener,
County,
yeah, I mean-
Cuyahoga County is full of supply chain manufacturers that make the tools and the parts that go into clean energy manufacturers. But I can say for every Lincoln Electric, there's probably a non-Lincoln Electric that is struggling with making their own facility energy efficient, but also struggling and transitioning to building and creating those parts.
Okay, I'm just trying to make sure that it's clear that we have a lot of companies that are already making parts and parcels for clean energy right this minute. If the market takes it on that direction, they will grow. If the market does not take in that direction, just like any business venture, it will not grow.
Thank you. Anything else? Councilman Shimrana.
Well, I don't have a direct question to her, but, so I'll yield if anybody else has got a direct question to her.
Okay, so you just have a general statement? So Chanel, not to Chanel?
Chanel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I guess we'll open up the floor then, or the committee, to general discussion on this department and start with Councilman Germana.
Well, first off, I want to congratulate you, Sonny, for putting together this group of speakers. I just think you did a tremendous job, or you and staff, or whoever did this, to get all these speakers. I think every one of them were of real value. In particular, I'm kind of like a specimen of, not only in my business, but personally, about so many things that were talked about. I mean, I had the energy audit by Columbia Gas, so I got a credit for doing insulation. just in the last 2 weeks, First Energy removed the refrigerator because we're getting energy efficient, and they're paying me $50 to take this refrigerator away. One person that was selling light fixtures, we were insuring, and they said there was this program about getting rid of all these fluorescent bulbs and energy, and there was this program. Well, we jumped on it, and actually we jumped on it too fast. We replaced every fluorescent bulb in my business, several hundred fluorescent bulbs. Well, we actually did it before the program started, so we couldn't get the juice. But the point was, we saved so much money. We cut the amount of fluorescent bulbs in half with more energy efficient that it didn't matter. We didn't need any help. We paid it ourselves because within practically 2 years, 2 or 3 years, we were going to save that anyway. So I'm a big believer both on the residential side and on the business side. Now, I know I was at the Cleveland Museum of Natural History 3 or 4 years ago, and it was something Cleveland, and David Beach, if you could just remind me what the name of that. What was the name of that program that you hosted at the Natural History Museum? Cleveland, such and such a year, or?
Where they built the house? Green City?
No. At any rate, we had, you had a speaker, and it's Cleveland 30 years from now, was the gist of it, okay? But the testimony at that particular program is that 50% of the carbon emissions, it's not from industry, it's not from cars idling and traffic, it's from heating buildings, 50%.
The speaker you're referring to was Ed Mazria from Architecture 2030, which is a national nonprofit that's focused on reducing the energy consumption in the nation's building stock, more than 50% by the year 2030, which is the kind of some of the goals we need to achieve to meet our climate change obligations. So, and the building sector has been one of the most promising success stories in reducing energy consumption and carbon emissions. The green building movement in the United States has made tremendous strides in reducing all of our energy consumption. So that's something that a new Department of Sustainability here could work with. There's a lot of people in the community who could partner with the county, and the county could provide a lot of coordination and assistance to accelerate a lot of that work.
Thank you. That's exactly, the point that one of the points that I wanted to get to. One of the reasons I was asking about the source of these funds, and it was almost to the question that Councilman Schwan asked. If it's free, it's a no-brainer. Okay, if for it's a good purpose, it's a no-brainer also. But the point is, there's not an unlimited amount of funds to do this. So the source is very important. And one of my thoughts is really, from my perspective, as, again, I hate to keep on bringing up my experience as an insurance agent, but, we have people out there that are on Social Security, their house is paid for, they may be on disability, their disability is enough to cover the payments, but they don't have the extra dollars to go out and improve their houses without some kind of help. And I don't know if we could, maybe this program could create some type of banking program where you pay back the amount to improve your property and energy savings by the savings over the course of the year. It's almost would be like a reverse mortgage. Of course, I'm not a banker, but that is the greatest source of funds is in the savings. And then if banks could get ahead on this curve, especially for people that can't afford to take a loan, because let's face it, half this county is stuck. They can't sell their houses for what they've paid for them. And banks are only going to loan money up until the amount of what the property is worth. And if they're underwater, so we're stuck not being able to improve properties. So so this is a very needed program for that. One other aspect of this that I think is very important if we're going to do this and do it right, and I see Bonnie Tewin in the back because she knows I'm the biggest supporter of the sanitary engineer program that we have. And what the sanitary engineer program is doing for roughly 35 out of our 57 towns and villages is the ultimate in collaboration. And I think we got to think about doing this with this program and trying to get some of the greatest points out of our sanitary engineer program so that cities don't have to have their own, we don't need 59, 57 or whatever number of cities, because Cleveland already has it. This county can't have all this extra levels of government involvement. I think what Cuyahoga County should be obtaining here is a situation where all cities and villages can collaborate with what we come up with so that we don't have duplication in services and studies and so on and so forth. So it's got to be a coordinated effort. And I just don't think we need an extra county level of bureau unless we could collaborate and save our cities from having to have their own department. I believe in this, Madam Chair. I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor.
Thank you very much, Councilman Germana. Councilwoman Cano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this, I guess, a question to you, but I do agree with Councilman Germana that we need a coordinated effort. But my question to you, with this ordinance, was it the thought to have the county take part in any funding in regards to clean energy? Is that what this? If you could speak a little bit so I can be clear.
Sure. Thank you very much. The ordinance before us simply establishes this department as an independent department under the executive. And I think once we, if this gets established and we have a sustainability manager here to coordinate all these efforts of education and assistance to communities and municipalities and residents and grant opportunities, I envision perhaps an advanced energy fund coming through the county if we could do that by way of different sources of revenue as a revolving loan fund in coordination with private investors and partnerships. I think this would spur tremendous opportunity through the county. As we heard from Sally Martin in South Euclid, what a small, modest amount of money was enabled them to create a green neighborhood initiative and get the money paid back several times over and having people move back in. So yes, I think after we look at what's out there, I think that might be a component down the road of what might be available in partnership with the private sector And I think we're going to start to see investment coming in as well.
And I know we have a lot of housing, historical housing stock. Are we going to work with the Restoration Society, encompass them? Because we do have a lot of communities here that have some historical homes, which definitely need some energy efficiencies. I live in one of them, so I know.
I think the sky's the limit with this, and the more we hear about all the opportunities, I think this department's already going to pay for itself 10 times over. And the work that can be done, we're going to see is way beyond what we even can imagine here, sitting all these different particular sectors of our community. It's housing, it's all of these things, and it's a collaborative effort too. And we're going to collaborate with the private sector, we're going to collaborate within the departments at the county, we're going to collaborate with municipalities. It's just a tremendous central point of coordination and pulling things together, and to really direct the market here. We're going to, I believe, see jobs coming in, and so yeah, it's collaborative. It's sky's the limit.
I'd definitely like to add my name.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Greenspan.
Great, thank you. This, in concept, this isn't hard to get your arms around to understand what's going on here. I do have a concern, and it's not with the substance of this, but more the practical application in under the functions. My concern is that, and I'm not a member of this committee, so I can't propose an amendment here, but I'll maybe work with the chair on a possible amendment to figure out how we coordinate and collaborate with already existing county functions that engage in some of this activity. So, for example, there's the discussion of economic development, promoting economic development. Well, underneath the Department of Development right now are home weatherization loan. There's a home weatherization program, the HELP program, the home program. And I just want to make sure that we don't create a department whereby the immediate assumption is that this department all of a sudden gets responsibility for all of these functions. And then before you know it, we wind up having an administrative nightmare and trying to transfer staff and functions where it may be more advantageous on the economic development or development front that function stay with the department, but there'd be collaboration between the two. As it relates to collaboration, although we've had somewhat of I'll use the word lame, somewhat of a lame collaborative effort, as Mr. Germano talked about, insofar as us coordinating and collaborating with our communities. I would hope starting in January that effort would increase. And my concern is that we're going to have too many individual agencies or departments within the county coordinating or attempting to coordinate with communities or nonprofits or whomever. And so what I'm looking for, well, and further before I say that is, especially I see the Director of Public Works is here, there are a number of opportunities to become more environmentally friendly as it relates to public works. I know a few years ago, Chairman, I presented to you a pervious sidewalk project made out of recycled bags that came off of, I know you may be stunned that I'm talking like this, but it's okay.
No, I never forgot the conversation, so I knew it was in you.
Well, it's interesting, because we've talked, I'll plug our, at home, we're very environmentally friendly. We use recyclable bags for grocery shopping or organic as much as we can. And in our yard one, the Westlake and Bloom First Prize Small Home, got to plug my wife on that. And we used all organic fertilizers in our yard. So this is something that's not, as I said, hard to get our arms around. So my concern, though, is more administratively that we don't create some type of conflict in attempting to do the right thing that winds up being more of a bureaucratic nightmare to ferret through. So I'm going to try to maybe, if I'll work with the chair, work with our law department, with Mr. King, on some type of language to facilitate coordination and collaboration with already existing departments, so we don't step on one another and wind up being not achieving the goals we want to achieve.
Sure, I appreciate that too, and I don't want to be duplicative, and so I will work with you if there's some language we can put in to do this. But so this is so specialized, I think, would by definition keep it separate. But I understand there might be some overlap with the different departments, and we want to make sure that it's. I agree with that.
This may be like under section 202.18 A1(2). It could be an F. To coordinate and collaborate with departments so that we don't, to achieve it's something, I'm not looking for something specific, but something that provides at least some guidance so we don't wind up stepping on each other.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Schron and then Germano.
Yeah, as I sit here, I think anybody who's ever been to Jurgens knows that there's probably not a bigger recycler in the entire county than what we've done. We recycled 50 acres of dirt that had been left abandoned for over 20 years. We recycle everything throughout our facility. We recycle all steel, all aluminum, all paper. So it is easy to justify the savings if you justify the savings, if you run the numbers and you crunch it. And I know my colleagues over there at GCP and COSI, this is part of their culture. It's not necessarily to create a whole nother bureaucracy. It's part of the culture. It's part of any organization. It's part of, when you talk about freeing up money out there, as Nicole did, it is part of what you do with every transaction, every business. As Chuck talked about, he didn't even need the incentive to do the lights, because when you do the number crunching, it makes sense to do the lights. It doesn't, we're not talking about a completely new department. Right now, we have home energy. Bonnie, my assumption is that when you looked at this building, you helped to design and make sure it was built in an energy efficient way to save money for the taxpayers. And that's really what the cost justification analysis comes down to. I know that the chair has talked about a special fund at times for incentivizing those businesses within the green, whatever, I'm not sure what that actually means. It means more to me is efficient and effective businesses out there, whatever their products are, because today we have a $100 million fund. I asked the county how many companies have applied for that would have been turned down or would not have been eligible, and the answer is none. We already have a $100 million economic development fund designed to support business, period. It doesn't matter what the business is. If they can justify their business model, they can make an application, whether that be a small business from the microloans all the way to the large businesses, because, by the way, Lincoln Electric, we did loan money, or we did provide money in the form of grants specifically to Lincoln Electric, which 85%, I believe, is the number of all wind turbines are touched by Lincoln Electric in the United States. So if the model makes sense, it makes sense. And it's strictly a business. We don't need an additional new way to loan money or to provide grant money other than what we already have the tools in place. The Economic Development Department is already administering that. They are already up and rolling with over $25 million worth of business activity on the streets right now. And it just depends. If you've got a good idea, bring it forward and present it to the Economic Development Department. And if it makes sense from a justification and analysis, go for it. We've seen that some are good, some are bad. We've seen the federal government put money into businesses that failed in this sector. We've also seen other businesses that have been successful. Let the model stand on itself. So we've already got the tools in place. We don't need to be duplicating in many of these same areas.
Thank you. Any other, I just want to state that this is much bigger than the Economic Development Fund. That's very limited to job creation and limiting to all we can do. So I disagree about, we already have something in place. And I think that, I'm not sure, but did Jurgens receive some state brownfield cleanup money?
We did not, if you want to check the record. Actually, the Clean Ohio Fund was created before Jurgens was finished on time, on budget, and it was 2 years after that was when the governor, both Taft and Governor Strickland, came to my office and asked me if I would vice chair the Clean Ohio Fund. And then $400 million later, we actually cleaned up sites throughout the state. So we did not receive the state money. We received some local money in regards to that.
Okay.
It was for cleaning up the brownfield. It went directly to the folks that were in the construction side of the aisle.
Thank you. I just want to say that the fund that I envision would address schools, municipalities, universities, businesses, churches, residents. It goes way beyond the focus of our Economic Development Fund. Anybody else? Councilman Germano, I think you had another question or a comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Along with, Greenspan's gone now, but what Dave had to say, I think we've got to set a new model because it's just not being in competition with these other little, it's almost like the silos that we had before the county government became a county government. You had all these different silos, everybody's doing something separate. So, you know what, we've got, this is a start, but economic development is part of this, of the green, in order to pay for this, because there's so much where there's not unlimited funding to do this. So we've got to think of this in terms of a new model of how to maybe reprogram all of our different organizations, and if there's streamlining to do, we need to do it.
Okay. All right, any other comments? I'm going to move on then to what we'll do with this piece of legislation. I'll get with Councilman Greenspan and see if we could come up with a provision to address the collaborative points he made, and then bring this back to committee probably just one more time, and hopefully move it out of committee to the full council for a vote. And I want to thank everybody for being here. First of all, it was great, and the participation from my committee members. I appreciate your insight and perspective. I don't have miscellaneous business, but I want to see if we have other public comment before I conclude the meeting.
Yes,
Madam
Ms.
Clerk?
Yes, Madam Chair, Mr. Eric Small
Okay.
signed in.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the County Council, my name is Eric Small. I'm Managing Director with Public Finance and Energy Advisors. We referred to briefly by Chanel Smith. We're the financing arm of the Renew program. We worked with the City of Seven Hills in collaboration with Emerald Cities, as well as the county through the Renew program, and structured the financing. We have been at this effort for about a year and a half. Shortly after Emerald Cities received the mandate from the county to put together a program to address energy efficiency opportunities for municipalities generated from the audits that were done, we began the process of interviewing local officials, mayors, finance directors, engineers. We worked with Emerald Cities in terms of putting together focus group meetings to find out why there was such reluctance in terms of going forward with energy conservation projects. And what we found in the process is that there were a number of barriers, financing being one, technical assistance, as Chanel mentioned earlier, being another major barrier. And so we structured the Renew program to address these issues. And what we found is that the model has been well received. We have a number of municipalities that we're in touch with that are moving forward in terms of their projects. We've got some institutions in the pipeline. We're talking with some of the school districts. The bottom line is that we support this initiative. We support creating a Department of Sustainability for all the reasons that have been mentioned by others up to this point. The sectors that comprise our economy, the municipal buildings, the institutional buildings, the commercial residential buildings, can all benefit significantly, and the ripple effect can be quite substantial from an economic standpoint. There were comments made earlier regarding the residential sector in terms of providing technical assistance and financing. You know, we've got inner ring suburbs that we have had conversations with that want to address issues relating to making their older homes more competitive. You know, many realtors will show a house in an inner ring suburb, and the buyer ends up buying an outer ring. Of course, the county covers both rings, but from an economic standpoint, providing services that can help those homeowners revitalize their properties and make them more competitive generates more tax dollars in terms of real estate tax values. Working with commercial enterprises in terms of generating more cash flow that can be used for future expansion. Working with our municipalities and other institutions is important. in terms of other options and a coordinating role that this department would play. Is my time up? Oh, I didn't know I was on the clock. I was just going to mention that the Ohio Department of Development recently undertook an effort to provide port authorities with loan loss reserve dollars for energy financing programs. Cleveland Cuyahoga Port Authority is participating in it. Jack, you might remember, I guess about 10 years ago, I participated in financing for the Jergens headquarters through the Port Authority.
Yeah, we were the first ones to use the bond fund, and we were the first ones to pay it off.
That's right. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We can get more into this at the next meeting if you want. Okay, thanks everybody for your patience. It's been a long meeting. We're going to adjourn the meeting.